It's witchcraft.
Hi, and welcome to episode 17 of the Stoned Witches Hour. It's 4:20 a.m., our favorite time to get high and downright spooky. On this podcast, we tell stories from the USA of the paranormal, the tragic, the spooky, and the just plain weird. I'm Layla, and I'm your West Coast host with the best weed and the best stories.
What up? I'm Chelle from the East Coast.
Hey! This episode, Chelle, is our last one for the month of April, and it happens to fall right between the high holiday of 420, Earth Day, and Beltane, which is the pagan celebration that's coming up on May 1st.
And, this is a time of year where it just feels like spring and summer. And now it's break out of the shell time. It's like go outside, do things. What a good time.
You mean it's shell breakout time?
It's shell breakout time. Yes, it is. It is.
That's right. Get outside and enjoy. I always love this time of year. Well, here in California, I can do it all the time. But on the East Coast, I love getting out bare feet, even when it was a little cold and muddy, and just getting out there and feeling all the new grass on my toes.
Let me tell you something. 60 degrees in the spring is a whole lot different than 60 degrees in the fall. I don't know how to explain it, but it is.
That's very true.
Right now, 60 degrees feels like it could be 100. I'm just as happy. But in October, 60 degrees feels like it's like frigid.
Yeah.
So I'm riding the wave of warmth, and it's only uphill from here. Thank God.
Oh, it's about time. It's about time. I know that Beltane was big for us back in New York because everything really did start to bloom. It was warm. Most of the time, it was the first weekend we were able to go camping and not freeze our asses off. Although sometimes we did freeze our asses off.
I do not miss the crazy weather of upstate New York. I'm just saying.
No, I am very grateful for the blue skies and sunshine on the best coast.
Which is the East Coast.
Oh, no. So for today's smoke sesh, Chelle and I have invited Lisa Ann from the YouTube channel Empower with Flower.
Lisa Ann, welcome. And do you want to tell us a little bit about Empower with Flower and what your message is?
Absolutely. And thanks for having me here on the Stoned Witches Hour.
You're very welcome. We love having you here. We're so excited.
Love your podcast. Empower with Flower is actually my YouTube channel. And basically I started it just this year, kind of like what you guys did, started it pretty recently to just get the word out there because I used to think cannabis was not okay. And now it's my blood. It's it's everything. And I've had so many benefits psychologically, physically, everything that I just want to shout it from the rooftops. And so that's why I started the channel.
Oh, I love that. And, when I found your YouTube channel, we're both fans of Reddit, and that's how I found you, was a post of yours on Reddit with this beautiful witchy photograph and talking about your YouTube channel. And then I checked it out and I was like, this is amazing. You're making cannabis so accessible to people. You describe different ways of smoking. And I just loved everything about how you were presenting it. It's so refreshing to see just a down-to-earth, happy presentation of cannabis instead of the typical stereotypes that we usually see. The slacker stoner or the grungy kid who's not doing anything,
Yeah. And that's what I try to show on my channel too, is look, I'm smoking. Am I a stoner? Am I not able to speak to you now? Look, I'm actually coming up with more stories and wiser things because I'm high.
Right,
so
right.
To me it enhances my thought processes because it shuts off all the stuff we don't need to be thinking about, right? That most people, that's all they're doing. But when you smoke and you shut off all that program stuff or shoulds or roles and stuff, then you access part of your brain that you didn't even know you had, and you come up with crazy fucking ideas, but you also come up with really good things that for me have been life-changing in how I relate to people, finding my true self, So that's what I'm trying to dispel. And it's a low-key channel. I'm not looking to add a bunch of, I'm not looking to be known or to monetize or anything like that. I have everything age restricted. I'm trying to really do it the right way, I'm hoping that the people that really need what I'm saying will find it.
I love how you talk about how weed has allowed you to find that wise woman within, has allowed you to kind of go deeper and strip away all the things that kind of don't mean anything. There's so much that's going on. There's so much that's bombarding us in life that it's too much sometimes. And I think cannabis gives me that moment to sit back, relax, and kind of reconnect with myself and reconnect with what's really important.
Right. Well, I want to tell you guys one thing I get from you and why I might be just really needing your podcast more than most people is because when you're raised very conservatively, religious, whatever, right? So I have a background, that's a whole other thing. But when you do that, you're acting. You're not really knowing yourself. You're being given rules for what you wear, how you speak, what's appropriate to do, who appropriate friends are. You're very sheltered and watched. And so like even public school kids are scary, right? So when I was growing up, I never had that real girlfriendy thing that you two have, I think is it from college?
Sort of.
Kinda.
It was around that age, yeah.
For 25 years or something.
Yes.
So I've never, ever, believe it or not, it's not sad, but I've never, ever had a girlfriend like that because of my upbringing. It's hard to explain. But anyway, so the last time I remember feeling like the rapport you guys have is like elementary school slumber parties. And then, of course, in junior high, everything shits up and it's horrible, and I was behind in puberty. I was the little short chubby girl and all that, and so I never had that friendship. And so when I hear you guys bantering and I'm listening to your podcast, I feel like I'm at that slumber party. I feel like I have those girlfriends, and so it's something a little different that's filling even more for me because I've never had that. And so that's why this is extra fun for me to talk to you guys.
I mean,
I'm a hermit and I don't go out. And
me too.
I think when Laylla and I had first met, we were both kind of at a point where we are who we are. We like what we like. We think what we think, and be damned anybody. If you don't like it, I don't give a shit. That's you. That's a you issue. That's not a me issue. We did a lot of things that kind of went against the norm, and we didn't really care. Right down to we both had a job at the same place, and we both almost lost our jobs for having our tongues pierced. And we were like, you know what? Whatever. If you fire us, you fire us. So we kind of, from the very beginning, always kind of had this is who we are. And if they don't like it, that's their issue, not ours.
So that's something I'm just learning right now since COVID. And I kind of said, I'm done with my career. I'm just going to stay home because we loved once I was staying at home, we were like, we love this. You can't ever leave. So I just basically retired. But, and then I started being able to smoke every day and really do thoughts. And so I'm just now finding that part of me that feels like it could go out and just make girlfriends with anyone and do my own thing. And I've done amazing boundaries and changes, and I'm my same self wherever I go, no matter who walks in or, I'm always me now, and I've never had that before. So you guys felt like you could be free to be yourselves at a young age. And
Right.
I just am finding that in late 50s.
Do you feel that not only your upbringing, but did you feel that your job kind of restricted that? And that now that you're retired, you don't have that concern?
Well, that's a great question, Chelle, because what my position has always been at work has been like, she's the weird, different person, but it was because of my upbringing. So I'm not going to be witty or come up with funny things. I'm getting better at it. I'm letting that out too. But I was always kind of strange in that they would talk these real sexual things about their husbands, and I still wouldn't. So there was just parts where I was kind of separate, but part of it was because of my upbringing, and I was different. I went to private Christian church school instead of public school. And so I'm getting better at that. But I always felt different because I couldn't express myself. I had my really good friends that I worked with offer me weed after a dinner at one of the girls' houses. And I said, no, I was afraid of it. And this isn't that long ago. And she said, it's because of control. You don't know what will happen. You're always in so much control of everything. And she was partially right. So
I get that I'm also a control freak. I'm a perfectionist. I get that. The losing control is difficult, but I feel like cannabis helps me more to take control a little bit more of my life. It helps me to feel more in control of my brain and what I'm doing. But I wanted to touch a little bit on you kind of coming into yourself after you retired. The biggest thing I keep thinking of every time I see your channel in a magical sense and in a literal sense is you remind me very much of like a butterfly. You are bright, you are colorful, you're bubbly, you have interesting information. Your topics, I love your YouTube channel because the topics aren't very long. I listen to them. They're packed full of information. They're fun. They're visually beautiful to look at. But it doesn't have to take 2 hours of sitting down, and you get right to the point and you distill things in a very beautiful way. I'm an old stoner. I have been smoking a very long time, and joints are one of my favorite things. I can roll them right up. Cones, I'm not so great at packing them. And I looked at your Joints for Beginners video where you did the raw 6-shooter demo. I have got to get one of those, So even for an old stoner like me, your videos have interesting things I didn't know about, and they're just fun to watch. They're informative. I love them. And again, the butterfly thing, because you're just so bright and fun and interesting, and you just kind of give that vibe of having come out of your shell and loving it, being so happy with who you found and who you are now. And that kind of really comes across in your YouTube videos.
Well, thank you. And that makes me very emotional to hear you say that because I've never liked myself. And,
oh my gosh.
And I never liked how I looked and everything. And it's just been literally, you guys, since I found cannabis, I'm able to get rid of all those filtering thoughts. So before you do something that you want to do, is this okay? What is it going to look like? What are my parents going to think? What are my siblings going to think? And I just was always living kind of in fear of all these things we compare ourselves to. Right. And I've always liked a very simple, minimalist life. So my family's well educated and they buy houses and all this stuff. And I've always been like, no, we're really happy just in our own little place. And so I've always felt different, but I've never ever liked myself until I found cannabis and said, fuck everybody. Like Chelle said, I heard her just say this morning, I got no fucks left to give. I mean, how old am I going to get before I go, who am I? What would my 8-year-old self smile at my life being like? And I'm just, I do have some witchiness in me from my grandma. We can talk about that. And I just, so it really thrills me because I've never, you guys have met me now and you're saying, we like this person. And I like her too for the first time. And so thank you for that butterfly comment and for liking the channel. I try not to have too much filler because I know what kind of YouTube I like to watch and I don't want I just give me my answer. Right. So I try to do that for other people. Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
So what was that? What prompted you that first time? What got you to pick up the bong that first time and start smoking?
So we were living in Boulder. We lived in Boulder for quite a while, Boulder, Colorado. And there's weed in the air. There's weed in the air.
Oh my gosh, I read tarot cards on Pearl Street there.
Laylla lived in Boulder.
I love Boulder. Well, I kind of slept on the streets in Boulder, but
okay. Well, we had kids at Fairview High, but we're in Boulder, and this is kind of a witchy story. So I'm working I always worked in cosmetic dentistry, and so
gorgeous smile.
I was managing this office for a really well-known cosmetic dentist there who I had worked for a long time. And we had a lot of patients come in who were interesting, as you can imagine, in Boulder. Sure. Leave it at that. So this one gal came in and they found out she read chakras or whatever. And so they said, can you come and read everyone's chakra in the dental chair? Can you stay? We were closing. Sure. Yeah. So read everyone's things. It's very private. We pulled a curtain and everything. So she does mine. And I don't know what she was doing. Okay. I wasn't into any of this. And has a necklace holding it above me and it's twirling and she's saying things and she's doing some kind of Reiki stuff. She's doing her stuff. And when we got done, she said, I've never had anyone with a clearer reading.
Oh.
I've just never, and she was saying that she really could connect to me. And she said to me, her name was K, just the letter K. She said, there's something really important you're supposed to do. Do you know what it is? And it was a life-changing moment that led me to follow a creative thing that I had been wanting to do. So that led me to being part of the live Boulder musicians singing out at different places like Laughing Goat and places. That's where I met local other singer-songwriters who all smoked weed. The ones that wrote the best songs, Chelle and Laylla, the ones that wrote the best songs. And I noticed when I would go to this songwriter thing, I was 20 years older, 30 years older than some of these kids that are out singing, right? And they would kind of like go, okay, it's over, and I would leave, and I would realize they're not leaving. And it's because they were going to have a sesh.
Toke up afterwards.
And so I went home to my husband and I said, I want to smoke weed. And he's like, really? He's, smiling. Really? Are you sure? Because we'd never done it before, but we're high school sweethearts. We're like, let's try weed in our 50s, right? And so he went out to the farm in Boulder and bought a bong, not this one, but bought a bong. And we started. My first experience was horrible, but, and I said, never again.
Oh my goodness. I think I love your husband already. What a great guy. Oh, you're like, hey, I want to try weed. He goes and buys you a bong and it's like, here, let's do it. Love that.
Later, I said, let's try again. And we had a really good experience. And it's been pretty much a daily occurrence since then. And that was October of 2019. So, yeah.
The weed bug hit and you never looked back.
Yes.
Good husband, by the way.
Yeah.
Good comedy. Now, does your husband smoke every day?
He does. He doesn't smoke as much as me. I'm the one who smokes enough to kill a rhino. His tolerance is different. So I can smoke. Norm for me, I'll just confess. I can do 3 bongs, 2 joints, and a Pax in a day. And that keeps me nicely high.
Nice. Very nice.
If I want to get really, really high for like what I call a puff and fuck, I'll do, which we're planning on tonight. I'll do, I'll get crossfaded because that helps me get up to that stratosphere that he can get to in 1 bong.
I highly recommend THC and CBD infused enhancement oils. Fabulous.
Oh, like topicals.
Yeah, a little bit of THC CBD lube. I highly recommend. Good stuff.
You need to be able to mail this stuff to me. Mail this to Massachusetts.
One of these days, we will be able to do that.
Chelle, where are you?
I am in Salem, Massachusetts.
I've been to Salem, but I heard you say Massachusetts, and I'm like, yeah, I used to work in Back Bay.
Okay, I know where that is.
Now, you've visited some interesting places, Lisa Ann. You have been to the Queen Mary, which is right here near me. You've been to the Stanley Hotel.
Yes.
You have quite the haunted history here.
Well, I'll tell you. So I think I have a little witch in me, and I'll let you guys decide that.
Every woman has a little witch. We all do.
I was born on my grandma's 50th birthday. Ethel Esther was her name. And she definitely was a witch. So she, when she was a teenager, worked for room and board for some witches. Nice. She cleaned their house and cooked their food and learned from them. And I didn't get to get a lot of stuff from her because my parents were no way going to let her tell us any of that. But
right, you had that religious upbringing.
Yes, very, very strict as you can get. But she would do fortunes with playing cards for us. She probably had tarot cards, but my parents wouldn't have allowed that.
Like gypsy fortunes.
Yes. And so I actually have on her pendant. So this is her Virgo pendant because we were born on the same September 17th.
Nice.
And my grandpa got...
That's my grandma's birthday, September 17th. How weird is that? It's my grandma's birthday.
That's synchronicity right there.
Well, this Virgo pendant of hers, I know we're going to get scary real quick here, but this Virgo pendant of hers, my grandpa got for her on her 30th birthday, which would have been, she was born in 1913, so 1943. And so I'm wearing that today.
Nice. I love
to bring
that.
some witchiness. But yes, I have been to some scary places, and I'll tell you, the Queen Mary, it wasn't scary when I went on it, but the reason why I was on it is because my grandmother lived in the Cooper Arms, which is on Ocean Boulevard, and the Queen Mary's out the window. So I grew up going up to her 16th floor apartment and seeing the Queen Mary. We went there to have dinner once, and the scariest thing that happened was for the chef, because it was a very fancy restaurant and we ordered steak, and I asked the kitchen for ketchup. So that's the only scary story I have. He was very upset and came out to the table and wanted to see who ordered ketchup. But I was, a kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. But no ghosts during dinner.
Yeah, and I don't know if that restaurant was on B deck or which deck it was on, but that was back in the early 80s. But definitely I can see it haunted, especially since you guys talked about how it was painted gray and it was a warship, and it caused that other crash and people died.
Yes.
And definitely some servicemen haunting on the Queen Mary for sure.
To bring it back a little bit to the cannabis portion of your journey, you mentioned earlier, I talked about how we both do Reddit, and you mentioned, I love this term, and you don't hear it that often, but you called yourself an ent witch, that you were, I don't remember if you used the term baby witch, but you said you were just a little bit of a witch, and you called yourself an ent witch.
Well, I'll tell you, it's actually entwife, and the reason why I use that word is because it's a subreddit on Reddit. So my favorite subreddit is called entwife, and maybe I did say entwitch. I must have been high. It's very creative. But all I know is that ent comes from some Lord of the Rings thing. I'm not.
Yes,
that's not
it's
something.
The trees. Ents are the tree people. Yeah.
Yeah, and the big subreddit on Reddit for cannabis is trees. Right?
Yeah. Yes, and the joke is the cannabis subreddit is actually about actual trees, not cannabis. So that's the joke. Our trees is about cannabis.
Sometimes people will post a picture of a tree on trees and go, does anybody know what kind of trees this is? And we're like, wrong subreddit.
Yeah, same thing happens on cannabis. I actually joined the subreddit cannabis and was very confused when I couldn't find anything but pictures of trees, and then I realized what the joke was. So yeah.
But those entwives on Reddit are the ones who made me, who helped me understand there's other people like me out there. So I thought that, a stoner, it's going to be a kid, it's going to be a lowlife, it's going to be somebody who doesn't work. It's, I didn't know. And then on there's all these beautiful women, successful women, very accomplished women, and they're sharing their bong hits and talking about how they smoke weed every day. And it made me feel like I found like a coven or a tribe.
Yes.
Definitely.
And I love that. And just to, again, explain what an ent is, it does come from the Lord of the Rings, JRR Tokin. It is it's a species, they're tree people. They're the ents. And so, and
I'd actually never heard of that.
Yeah. So they're the tree people.
I hadn't either, Chelle, until I found entwives. I didn't know what it was.
Big Lord of the Rings fan here. So, and being an ent witch, for me, I'd have to look and see if you said entwife or entwitch. Maybe I read it wrong, but I love the idea of an
I like that you did, if you did.
And because it's just, trees and cannabis and being a witch or a pagan is so all wrapped up together for me that I just loved that idea. And it just really struck me as a cool, interesting way to combine those things.
Definitely. And I am learning from you guys how to be an ent witch, because I like when you did the episode about spring and the ritual, the witchy rituals around that. I'm just at the level of having a tiny little altar and some sage, but now I got lots of ideas from that episode of what I can do to bring spring in, and Chelle saying that you don't have to read the crystal book and know all the things, just pick the colors that are pretty to you, and it helps me understand how it's so flexible, which is so different from most worldviews, right?
Yes.
I grew up in something very inflexible, and so just that anyone can be a witch. You can do it however you want. They'll say, do this elaborate ceremony, or just close your eyes and think it. It's very, you can customize it to yourself and really find out who you are through witchcraft, instead of the worldview telling you who you are, or who you should be. So I'm very drawn to that.
Beautifully said. And I think that's why we're kitchen witches or chaos witches, for that very thing, because intent is so big.
This week, we had our full pink moon. How I celebrated the moon was seeing it upside down, laying in my bed, recovering from my illness. And it was just as good as if I had put on this or that outfit, gone to some stream. Like I just didn't have it in me, and the intention was no different.
That's what's so beautiful about, paganism, Wiccan, it really lets you express yourself naturally instead of being programmed. I mean, it's just a beautiful way to view the world.
And I love that cannabis helps to connect me to that. As a grower, I have lots of plants. I do. I have plants all over my house. I have plants in my garden, and I grow a shit ton of cannabis. And it's my favorite thing to grow because it's so interactive. The vibe I get from it, the feeling I get from growing it is intelligent. Sounds weird, but it's so symbiotic and it feels good. I immediately feel good when I work with this plant, and other growers that I talk to kind of have that same thing. And it's just such a nice way to connect with the sun, with the earth, with water, with air, with everything. And just to kind of feel that vibe. And even smoking for me can be a mini ritual. Again, you have all the elements, you have the air, you have the fire, the water, the earth, all of it combines when you're packing a bong or rolling a joint. And then that inhalation can be a mini ritual, a mini meditation, a mini spell right there. And it's always been like that for me.
And the girl power,
Yes.
power, the female plant, like that really just really floats. Like, I really think we should run everything, but it's,
Yes.
that the female energy, it can be a male person, but those of us with that female energy should be running things because we're not greedy.
Correct. Yes.
That feminine energy needs to kind of run for office.
Yes.
Do you grow at all, Lisa Ann? Do you or your husband grow?
Oh, great question. He did one grow. So this is when I was working, and he was retired already. He grew got some seeds and grew in a closet in this room, some LSD strain, which we termed Sogo. So we call it Sogo strain because that's what we call our little apartment here, Sogo, because it's so good. But
nice.
so we call that strain Sogo, and it lasted us for a year, Laylla, and it was good shit. Like it was our,
Nice.
and I've heard you talk about that. Like, I don't know if it was the Jack Hare, the abusive OG, or some strain. You were saying, oh, I grow this and it lasts me. And it did, it lasted us over a year.
Nice. Very nice.
Good stuff.
Things come to me to die. I can't grow anything. Like literally cats and kids.
Either.
That's all I can keep alive.
I
Cats and
can't
kids.
either, Chelle. I'm surprised my kids are alive. I can't grow anything. I have no plants and I can't grow anything. So that was all him. All I did was help harvest.
Now, I've seen on your show you give prices sometimes. I've seen you kind of break out the bags from your delivery or your haul, and your prices blow my mind.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what it goes for, a gram or an ounce typically when you buy?
We only order from Flower Company. I'm in California, near Sacramento. So most of this weed is grown in Arcata. It's all grown in the Emerald Triangle up there. But Flower Company is the delivery service. So it's an app or a website, and we go on there and say, hey, this is what we want, and you get it usually the next day. But this is an ounce of ice cream cake, $49.
Ooh. What? Wait. Back that train up. Back what?
And
How
this
much?
is an ounce. I have a bunch, but this is what I have in front of me. This is an ounce of Sour Patch Kids, which is a good go-to, and it was $59. Free delivery.
Do they
What?
have THC percentages on there at all?
Yes,
Lisa Ann?
yes. And Chelle, I'm up with you. If you guys will see on here, see how it says the word ass, ASS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ass indica, ass sativa. So we group our weed in ounces by ass, mid, and top. So this is the everyday stuff that you make into joints and stuff like that. So this is the low stuff that I don't really love, but it's okay during the day. It's 18.56 and 18.97. Now, my top shelf, which right now is Ebola and Triangle Mints, is close to 30 or 32.
Nice.
So I like the high THC.
$50 an ounce.
I can't get over that.
I would walk to California for that shit. Okay.
That's amazing, the price. For something
That's
similar.
cheaper than that's cheaper than I get an eighth for.
And the
fuck?
top, you got Chelle, the top shelf here, the Ebola and the Triangle Mints is $69 an ounce. So it's not, we were paying $130 down in Santa Barbara for Pacific.
Southern California is so bad. So
Yeah.
bad. Oh my
I'm
goodness.
jealous.
So the prices are crazy.
I'm jealous.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's
That's
good
crazy.
stuff. It's good stuff. We go to the moon where you just feel like you're floating out in the stratosphere. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
you
yeah.
get crossfaded and you're with your honey and your clothes are coming off and you're grooving to the whatever music and we can see trees out our window and we just feel like we're floating in space like nobody's ever had a blissful life as we've
That is
had.
perfect. What a
And
great
we're
date
paying
night right
$69
there.
an ounce for that. $69 an ounce for that. So it works.
Damn it.
Nice. Nice.
Damn it.
The flower company. Yeah.
Now, I'm smoking on some Blissful Wizard that I purchased from a local delivery company, and it was not $69 an ounce. This is Blissful Wizard. It's 34% THC, but
Nice.
this is costing $60 for just an eighth. And
Yeah.
when, if you go up and you buy it in an ounce, it's $320 an ounce. And that's for
Yeah.
the
I
top
heard you
shelf.
say something like that on the podcast, and I was like, she must live in Carmel or La Jolla or somewhere.
This is Southern California prices, and it's not too different from the sounds of it from Massachusetts
It's the same,
prices.
yeah, it's the same in Massachusetts, 60 an eighth, 300 an ounce. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm smoking my low THC one today. It's Limo G. And you want to know how low I've gone this week? My low one this week is only 28.7.
That's my Chelle. There we go.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you.
For being called Limo G, it does not have that citrus flavor. Just want to say
You can smell it, though. You can smell it, but you can't taste it.
a little bit, but it tastes, it almost tastes like homegrown dirtweed from like 1995.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm talking
I don't know
about?
what that is,
Or-
but it sounds bad.
It is nostalgic actually, because when I smelled it, all I could think of was, I'm like, this is shit that we used to smoke like back in the day, like when my kids were real little back in the day.
Wow.
Good high, but it just, you were like, and it almost tasted like that weed too.
To have weed as a mother, see, I never had it. That sounds amazing.
You don't even
Lifesaver.
know.
Lifesaver.
You don't even know.
I suffered it all raw.
I saw the rise of the wine moms, and I was actually a little upset that it was so socially acceptable to be the wine mom. Oh, it's wine o'clock. I have to drink a glass of wine. And if anyone knew that I was puffing on a joint in the morning so that I could handle my kid all day,
Right.
I don't know what they would say. I would be judged, but someone could have a glass of wine or a bottle of wine and they were applauded almost. And I have nothing against wine moms, but
Come on. Yeah.
I just didn't like the stigma of a pot mom.
All I have to say is, with having a daughter that's 7 months pregnant right now, I still have to smoke to deal with my kids. So just saying.
Oh, my kids are all adults and I definitely smoke to deal with them. You need weed.
Yes. Hey, I smoked as a teen. It not that that's something that I'm going to promote as a thing that people should do, but for myself, I've self-medicated before I knew that's what I was doing most of my life. And I do definitely smoke just to relax and because I enjoy it. But I've also spoken on here before that I smoke to help me control my ADHD, and which I was not diagnosed with until I was an adult.
You're having fibroid pain, I think you said.
Yes. I deal with severe fibroid pain on a regular basis. And I have to take so much ibuprofen that I get sick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Until I found, being able to dab high THC and CBDs, I was not able to manage the pain at all. And that helps me to keep the pain to a manageable level without destroying my liver and my stomach.
totally.
Yep.
And that should be available to everyone. My God, I won't even go there if I can get so upset, about alcohol, where, you can get in a fight, you can drive home drunk, you come home, beat your wife, but alcohol's fine. But on cannabis, you're not going to do any of those things. You're just going to chill and not hurt a fly. And it just really is there's so many things out there in society where we just have to smoke and go, whatever, I can't.
I can be sometimes very dangerous when I'm high, like right now, these caramel pretzels covered in chocolate. Like, that's a danger.
I've heard about him and now I get to see him.
That is
a danger to me. Like, these, you can't stop eating them, and there's so much like salt and chocolate and caramel. It's just too much.
Yeah.
You should be arrested.
Yeah, right. That is a legitimate concern. But they've actually found that pot smokers are among the most healthy people. We tend to have more healthy lifestyles, and
lower
the whole lower BMI, the whole munchie stigma notwithstanding. And they're finding now that it's due to, I believe you talked about some of the compounds in cannabis that help with weight loss and that can help with different things like that.
A lot of good cannabinoids that they're separating out, like at the Rare Cannabinoid Company in Colorado. And you can buy a tincture bottle of full spectrum, pure CBG, CBN. I mean, take CBN an hour before bed and you will sleep like a toddler and you'll wake up and want your blankie. I mean, that shit works. I use it. The THCV, it suppresses your appetite and gives you energy. It's the best stuff ever. Those different cannabinoids, but and they're legal because they're from the hemp plant. Anybody can get those. But the benefits you're getting from dabbing for fibroid pain, that should be available to everybody.
Everybody, absolutely. And it's terrible that it's not, and science, I say that a lot. I love the science that's coming out, and it's coming out. More needs to be done.
Yeah, it's coming out though. It's in my feed, I know, because I Google it, but I have seen things pop up in Popular and things where they're saying, hey guys, if you legalize weed, prescriptions go way down. Just like when you legalize abortion, teenage pregnancies go down, so it's happening. And I'm glad in my lifetime I'm seeing the legality that I am seeing.
Me too. I think it's a snowball. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger from here. We're on the cusp of it being federally at least moved off of Schedule 1. And I think that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, because they found out how much money they can make as a state.
You're not even joking on that. You are not even joking. It is like $1 billion industry just in the state of Massachusetts alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why it's going to be legalized for profit, of course.
And that's why all of a sudden in the last, 3-4 years, you've seen a lot of states hop on that bandwagon.
Yes.
Pennsylvania, isn't Pennsylvania on the brink?
They're close,
Laylla?
Yes. I try to look at the glass half full, but it is frustrating because people are having to uproot their families and move to legal states because their kid has epilepsy or, grandma has Alzheimer's or it's in there. People are actually having to geographically move for this medication. It shouldn't be that way.
We saw that a decade or more ago when people started moving to Colorado in order to get the Charlotte's Web for their kids. And it's still happening today. And it's ridiculous that it's carried on for as long as it has. They need to kind of follow it. If they follow the money, so be it, because at least the science will then be able to follow. And
well, I had a client in Boulder who tearily was crying to me after her dental appointment because she had grown up in Pennsylvania. She loved Pennsylvania, but her son was having 20 seizures a day and couldn't speak and all this. And they had to move to Boulder, which is a great place. And they had the money to do it. But even with that wealth, she was sad that she had to leave her family and her friends and her job and everything. And it was because she had to go where the cannabis was. And when you see somebody just distraught, but she also got her son back.
Right.
And we saw that happen over time. And it was an amazing thing. But
so many people don't have the resources to be able to do that. And the incarceration rates, it's extremely,
I have to take a hit.
Yeah, that's a bad one. It's extremely racist policy. And the amount of people that are incarcerated for this that should not be is criminal. It's absolutely criminal. And different podcast. But before we get too far. There's so much when you get into it. We've just barely scratched the surface of what a terrible policy that prohibition has been, and how much damage has been done because of it, and how much has been lost that we could have found if we had been studying this from the beginning.
And the myths that are perpetuated over and over again in every form of media, even now, don't do it at a young age because of brain cells. Don't do it because it's addictive. Don't do it because it's a gateway drug. All these myths just keep, it makes you stupid, they say. You're going to be all these myths, and that's what I want to dispel.
Yes.
I mean, because it's just like the religion I was brought up in. There's nothing to it. There's nothing there.
But you know what? There is something to, Lisa, and smoking marijuana perpetuates my fat ass because I sit here and eat. And
THCV, that's all you need.
yeah, but I like to have like this dark chocolate, caramel, pretzel, sea salt. Like, I'm ready for ice cream now.
I'm jealous. I just have
Me too,
Triscuits today.
totally.
I want some of those now.
I guess to my credit, after having had COVID all week, I haven't eaten a ton this week. So now I'm just like hungry
Your
for
appetite.
Yeah.
everything. And I'm high. So I'm high in like a week's worth of hungry. That's how I know I'm feeling better, because I
There
just
you
want
go.
to eat every little snack. I
Yeah.
want
I have a video called Realistic Munchies, and I'm a big dark chocolate smokehouse almond kind of gal too. But one of the best things you guys can get, and it comes out of Boulder, I didn't know that it did, but they're called Yasso bars, YASSO, and they're Greek yogurt bars, like a fudgesicle, but all different flavors. They're only 100 calories, and they do the ice cream thing. I'm telling you, because we were doing Ben and Jerry's consistently, and I said we need to stop, and we found the Yasso bars, and they're delicious. So that's
fabulous.
Yeah.
I guess I'm stoned because I need those right now. I could
I'm
really
so
go for like 4 of them.
I'm gonna text my husband.
not just one of them, 4 of them.
4. We need 4.
I'm just gonna say Yasso.
Yasso. And he'll know. Again, love your husband. That's fabulous. Oh my goodness. So while you get your munchies delivered, one of the things I like on your channel is your different how-to videos. Again, I even found a how-to with the raw 6-shooter that I had never seen before. So stuff for new people to make things more familiar for people, and stuff for old stoners like myself to find something new. Do you have a favorite one of your how-tos that you've done? And do you have anything new coming up that we might look forward to?
Well, I think my favorite how-to was the bong one, because the bong is my favorite method. It just is. It, like you said, it cools the smoke. It puts the flame a little farther away from your throat. So that was fun for me, doing the bong one, and also because I have a little custom way I pack the bong called the Baclava pack, so you have to watch it. But I was able to show that to everybody, and I really stand behind it, that you get a better high if you pack your bong in that way. And so it was fun to kind of say that. Yeah. And so that one was real fun for me, because I just love, hitting the bong.
You call it the Baclava pack? Who doesn't love
Yes.
baklava? I'm going to, again, munchies. Oh, is that a Yasso bar? Oh, yeah. The awesome husband has delivered the amazing looking Yasso bar.
Mint chip.
Nice. So, yeah, we'll have to link that episode so that everybody can find out what a baklava pack is, because now I'm curious.
I want to know.
I'm happy to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Give us a teaser. Go ahead and tell us.
Okay. So I invented this on my own because I had bong bowls that would like get clogged, or it wasn't always smooth to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a little jar called twigs, and I save the twigs from when I save them, and I put them in a little jar with a little humidipack, a little Bovida humidipack, so they don't get, anyway. So across the hole in the bottom of your bong with a lighted, Revlon tweezer, I put a twig across the hole.
Like keep things from pulling through.
Just like a little,
perfect.
Yeah. And then I sprinkle in just on top of that whatever weed I'm using, and that keeps the twig in place. And then I fresh grind my weed every time. I used to pre-do it and keep it in jars, and it just wasn't the same. So I fresh grind it and I squeeze it between my thumb and forefinger in these little just pancakes. It doesn't matter the shape. And I kind of tile them up like a roof just to fill the bong. And then I'll put some loose on the top. And what I found is it just kind of gives the air, the heat, it kind of has to go through, and it makes it really tasty, and you get more oils, I think, and it just really hits harder. And we've gone back and forth and tried it. My hun and I swear that you got to pack the baklava or it's just not as good a high. So
I'm gonna have to watch this video.
What my bud shoving friend Chelle over here has. Are you gonna try that?
Stop.
What did you call it? You called it something like stuff and
Shove that bud right in there every time. So I'm curious to see if she'll take the time to try
See,
it.
she put stems in hers, and you're not a pot snob to her. I smoke stems, and I'm all of a sudden some like bad pot smoker.
I think there's a difference between intentionally taking your carefully curated Bovita pack kept perfectly humidified stem to put on the bottom of a beautifully crafted bong is much different than just grabbing any old stemmy bud and shoving it into the bowl. Little different there, Chelle.
If that was the only option, I would do that. So,
Yeah.
I'm not above anything.
Yeah, me personally, if I find that the hole at the bottom of the bowl is a little too big, I usually just take a small bud, something a little bit bigger than that, and I put that down there and then kind of pack around that. So that's how I kind of
Same concept.
Yeah, same concept. I like yours because sometimes if you get the wrong bud down there, it's going to clog the intake, and then you kind of gotta.
Or the times when you just put nothing but shake in there and hope for the best, and then you take a really big hit and you're like, it's all in my mouth.
Suddenly your bong water looks like tea in there. Yeah.
Well, I usually do like the chillum or the pipe, so usually it's all in my mouth.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that part.
A
I do have
mouthful of shake.
just so you know, Chelle, I do have a glass Grav Gandalf pipe. And I have some other glass pipes, their regular pipe that kind of their standard one. I have that in green and pink and blue. So I have some pipes too.
Excellent. Everybody needs a pipe for travel. You can't smoke a bong in the car.
You can't?
Well, I mean, I guess you could.
Really? Oh, interesting. One of the things I like about your channel, Lisa Ann, is your paraphernalia. You have a dream stash of paraphernalia. I am so jealous. You pull out these pretty bongs, you pull out pipes, you pull out grinders, and you have humidifier packs. You have everything, and I love it.
Blood cups, I have. Yeah.
You have a jar of joints. You have anything. You have big ounces of weed that you get for amazing prices. Out of all of that, you've mentioned you really like your bong, but is there any piece of paraphernalia that you could not live without?
Absolute favorite, 100% favorite.
Yes, I do. And I have to say it would be my PAX 2, and I'll tell you why.
Now, what is a PAX 2 for our listeners?
Okay, a PAX is a brand that makes vapes for cannabis, but the PAX 2 is convection. So basically what it is, it's about 4 inches long. It's about as like you're holding a lighter. It's not that big, but in the bottom of it is a convection oven. You grind your weed and put it in that oven and put the lid on, and you heat it up, and it's very specific. You can use an app even to set the temperature that you want it to heat to. Let me just grab it. It's right here.
Because I have something that's called a PAX pod.
It's very similar. Hers does vaporizes. It actually does. It heats up the weed. It does not burn it. There's no combustion. Yours, I believe, does oils, Chelle.
It's more like think of it more like a dab pen. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like a vaporizer?
Yeah, this is convection.
I got you. So I've got one that's oil.
Right.
Okay.
Same company, same type of
Yeah.
concept.
That's a PAX era. That's a PAX era that has PAX pods, and you buy
And
them like
mine's just called a PAX pod.
And similar
yeah.
to dab rigs, where you can set a temperature based on whether you want like a terpene, whether you want to really taste all the terpenes, so you'd go for a lower temperature, or if you want really to get all the THC, where you might go for a higher temperature. People can set different temperatures when you're vaporizing flower to, again, taste a little bit more of the terpenes, or get more of get more of that THC into your lungs. You can use a higher temperature.
Well, the PAX's favorite because it's very portable. So if you were going to go to a downtown block party or something, you can take this and take your little bud cups in the little bud cup humidor, and you'd have enough. You'd be good. Also, if you get to the point where you feel like I need a tea break because I'm coughing or I'm feeling a little respiratory stuff going on, this stuff hits as close to, I mean, it's flour. You're convecting flour in here. It's not a pod. You actually grind flour and put it in here. So when you feel like your throat needs a little combustion break, this soothes menthol. Oh, this is the tastiest way to do weed. It's like you get all the terpenes and flavonoids and everything, and it soothes your throat. So I would say I'd have to go with the PAX if I couldn't pick the bong or joint. Find someone who has one and try it.
Try one. Go to a festival once these festivals start and try one there.
I've never been to a 420 festival or a cannabis festival, so I might try one on your recommendation because I know they're all over the place here.
Yes, especially in Northern California. You should definitely look some up. They are a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun. Look for one with a good reputation, because I'm sure, especially now that festivals are coming back, there's going to be all sorts of pop-ups everywhere.
Yeah.
But
They just had on 420 in Golden Gate Park, and next year maybe. We just weren't up for it this year.
Yeah.
But we can get there in an hour and a half, so we should definitely go next year.
I highly recommend if you can find a good
I'm really
one
looking forward to that.
that's safe.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's still tough now. It's not exactly the safest thing yet. So, but we'll get there.
Cool. The coolest people on the planet, Chelle and Laylla, do it. Everyone should do it.
You think I'm cool? You think we're cool?
Oh, I think you guys are the coolest. Yeah, remember, I'm a square nerd extraordinaire. So to be able to banter with you guys is actually, again, I'm not going to go there, but it's really special to me that I can banter with you as my true little girl self, and I'm just being me, and you guys like me.
You need to stay in touch. We love you. Stay in touch. We will do this again. We'll absolutely have you back, and for sure stay in touch. And we'll have you back, and we'll talk again and see how your interviews have been going.
That was really wonderful. You guys are. I feel just that I've seen you now. I can put a face to a name, which I hadn't done before, and just keep doing what you're doing. Your podcast is great. I'm telling everyone about it. And it really gives me that girlfriendy slumber party feeling, kind of camaraderie of being part of the cool kids or something. And so it's fulfilling that for me. And the banter that you guys have I was scared this morning. Okay. I've been scared several times, Chelle. Thank you for Fall PA and Forest Park Cemetery, and the guy who hangs himself above the car, and the girlfriend's in the car. And
it isn't getting any better, just so you know.
and the teen that was the murder. It was a true crime one that the girl was murdered house sitting for someone, and the boyfriend wasn't allowed to stay over. And so you guys are always scaring the fuck out of me for sure, but I'm enjoying it. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, you have been so much fun. I loved your show. You are just like you are on your YouTube channel, and I appreciate you so much and what you're doing to get the word out there, and I just love it. So thank you, and we'll definitely put a link to your show on there, and for sure the one with the raw 6-shooter and the Baclava bong pack. So we'll make sure people can find those.
I am so curious about that. I got to see that. I've got to see it.
So thank you, Lisa Ann.
Thank you.
After that amazing smoke sesh with Lisa Ann, I am ready to finish the rest of my stash and tell some spooky tales. This week, I can tell you my story is definitely going to top your story.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think so. I think I'm giving you a run for your money this time.
I like a challenge. I like a challenge. I am going to scare your socks off with some true government approved alien stories.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that just changes it a little bit.
So true that the government says they can't explain them.
Well, let me tell you something. This is our little East Coast story. I am going to be talking about a cryptid that also has been confirmed by government officials. Well, if that's what you want to call the police, we'll call the police government officials. But I have a cryptid story as well. So I don't know. This is definitely going to have to be one of those episodes. All you listeners out there, all of our friends, all of our peeps, all of our followers, this one you've got to vote on, people, because I am telling you, I'm kicking Layla's ass with my story today.
No,
and I think she
happen.
thinks that she's kicking my ass. So this is definitely one of those ones where you need to like reach out by email or by messenger pigeon, semi four flags. We need to know today for sure who had the scarier story, because I think I'm taking it.
No, I'm definitely taking it. This is the big aliens versus cryptids battle here on the Stoned Witches Hour. So
dun, dun, dun.
I'm going to break out some more of this blissful wizard that I've been smoking, my 34% THC top shelf Chelle, because
I'm proud of you for the high percentage. Proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have to finish this bowl that I started with our guest Lisa Ann. I loved her. Oh my gosh, we definitely have to have her back.
Totally love Lisa Ann.
She's fabulous.
Shout out, love you.
Love her YouTube channel, Empower with Flower. Definitely check her out. So yeah, if you liked your interview with her, get more Lisa Ann on her YouTube channel.
I want more of Lisa Ann's cheap weed, man.
Holy cow. Yeah.
What the hell?
Talk about wanting to be able to have it shipped. Damn, I would pay shipping price. I'd be like, all right, I would like a pound, please. And just ship it to this address.
For real.
Damn.
Wow.
When she said that the 49 an ounce was for the ass weed, I thought she was going to say top shelf was easy going to be at least 3 times that. I was like, it has to be. No, $69. Yeah, it was like $10, $20 more. I almost fell out of my chair. What the heck?
I'll smoke the ass weed if that's the case.
Yeah, right? Hey, ass weed is great work day weed, Smoke a little ass weed while you're trying to write some reports or while you're trying to write a podcast, whatever you happen to be doing. And it's great. Get you through the day weed.
There are days where, and you know me well enough to know I have picked quantity over quality.
But at those prices, damn.
How could you not?
I would be smoking top shelf all day, every day. That's almost as cheap as I can grow it.
I'd give that shit away at that price.
Right? I think that's probably illegal too. Such bullshit.
I know,
if I can
right?
give away my zucchinis, I should be able to give away my prized Jack Hare buds. Come on. Anyway.
Well, anyway.
So you have a cryptid story for me this week, Chelle.
Now, have you ever heard of a Puckwudgie?
No. I've heard the term puck in reference to, fairies or the fae.
Well,
but what's a Puckwudgie?
So, this is a good one. I feel like every state has like their own cryptid. Maybe not every state.
I think you might be right on that. I think you're close.
Almost every state has their own cryptid.
Yeah.
There's actually a couple of different areas in the United States that can claim to be home of Puckwudgies. But for the most part, they are commonly thought of as a Massachusetts cryptid.
So your neck of the woods.
So my neck of the woods. They oddly enough kind of already, they seem to gravitate towards areas that are rich in supernatural lore to begin with. I kind of take that as paranormal attracts paranormal. You know what I mean?
So if it's a place where maybe there have been alien sightings or ghost sightings, it might also be a place that has Puckwudgies.
Potentially. Like there's a place called Round Rock, Texas. Also, Bigfoot's been spotted there too, but Puckwudgies and Bigfoots seem to go chill in Rock Round, Texas. We'll have to go visit there. I don't know what it is about Rock Round, Texas.
What is a Puckwudgie?
So a Puckwudgie, check this out. Now, this is like between 3 and 4 feet tall, kind of a humanoid shape and a humanoid type thing. Kind of could look like maybe an elf / fairy / troll.
Okay.
It is definitely more of like that evil fairy / troll persuasion. They have like a grayish pale skin that they can illuminate in the wood. I don't want to say glow in the dark because it's not necessarily a glow in the dark, but they can illuminate their skin.
So they're more humanoid, like a fairy or a troll, rather than
An animal.
rather than yeah, like a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch, which is like more of a hairy animal humanoid. So
Right.
they're more like a people humanoid.
Right. They're more like a troll, fairy, leprechaun-y type thing.
Okay.
They're kind of along those lines. They have a multitude of magical abilities. Now, I know you love this topic, orbs.
I do. I love me some orbs.
Puckwudgies use orbs. And that's kind of what I mean.
Orbs.
Yeah, like that. And that's also what I mean by like they can illuminate their skin. They illuminate themselves to look like an orb.
Oh.
See what their goal is they want you to die and then they want to collect your soul. And I'm just putting that in like nutshell terms.
That sounds awful. What? Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, back. Whoa. You're describing these cute little elfin humanoids, and now you're telling me they want to like kill me?
Yeah, I am.
Wow. Okay. That took a turn I was not expecting.
But what they do is they use orbs and things of that nature to kind
My
of
beloved
like
orbs. They've corrupted my orb. No,
to suck you in,
Chelle.
to pull you in, to bring you into the depths of their web.
So they're like one of those lantern fish. They like put out the glowy, pretty orb, and you're like, ooh, pretty orb, and then you
Yes.
follow it into their deathly clutches.
Correct.
Oh, that's
correct.
awful. That should be
Correct.
illegal. Illegal. Where are the men in black when you need them? I mean, come on, that's bad.
Obviously not in freaking Massachusetts.
Obviously not.
Now, I don't know if you have a map
Rude.
in front of you, but like Plymouth Rock, y'all heard of Plymouth Rock. You know Plymouth Rock, the Pilgrims, the Mayflower, the whole.
Heard of it, yeah. The one that fell on the native people here.
Correct. So there's this place called Hockomock Swamp. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So for everybody who knows this place, don't hate me. Don't be a hater.
Oh, they'll tell us. They have no problem telling us if we mispronounce something. Please let us know.
Yeah.
Nicely, preferably.
Yeah, just be nice because I don't live in this town. I don't know how it's pronounced. So we'll call it Hockomock Swamp. Probably
Sounds
call it
good.
something different. It's near Raynham, Massachusetts, and it basically the correlation of Plymouth is it's about 20 miles inland from Plymouth.
Okay.
So think of it as like a half hour from Plymouth. So there's this guy. Actually, let me back this train up. Puckwudgies were first kind of found, we'll say, by the Native Americans. And what they would do is the natives would kind of go off into the woods or into tree infested areas and hear these noises and like hear voices, but like those voices didn't speak a language per se, if that makes sense. Like, Native Americans
like
didn't
something you could hear what sounds like people talking, but not in a language you could recognize.
Correct.
Okay.
So this started with the Native Americans, and they would follow these voices, and then if they saw it at night, they'd see these beautiful flashy lights and follow the lights.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unfortunately,
Not my orbs. I hate that. I don't like Puckwudgies now. That's so rude. Terrible. That's terrible.
they've stolen the pleasure of your orbs.
Now every time I see an orb, instead of being like, oh, maybe instead of my worst fear being that it's an insect, my worst fear it's going to be a fucking Puckwudgie that wants to eat my soul or something. It's awful.
What they would do is they would lure off these poor Native American folk, and they would either lead you to your death by like, say walking off a cliff or some shit. Because what they would do is create a fog and the blinking lights in the fog. And when you'd walk in the fog, there's no land beneath you, plunge to your death.
No, that's evil.
Or they would manipulate you into committing suicide.
Oh, that's really terrible. Oh no.
So the Native
no.
Americans kind of figured all this out, and they learned that as long as you didn't follow the Puckwudgie, seeing one wouldn't kill you. You could encounter one, but don't ever follow it, kind of thing.
Say no to the Puckwudgie.
Say no to the Puckwudgie.
Do not follow that orb. Take a picture of
No.
the orb. Don't follow it.
Right. You just kind of be like, yeah, it ain't happening. And you
I
don't.
know your game, Puckwudgie. Fuck you.
But of course, as you can imagine, you know, people, oh, that's not true. I'm going to follow it. And then you're dead.
There's always someone in the crowd that has to touch the cursed chair or talk to the cursed doll or challenge the fucking Puckwudgie.
Yep.
Always one in every crowd.
So, you know, and as you can imagine, these are like I can't remember the exact year the frickin' Mayflower landed, but we're talking this has been going on for hundreds of years because this was happening to the natives before the Pilgrims came. So then enter the Pilgrims. Then I guess what the Indians did was when some of the quote unquote pilgrim white man were pissing them off, they would kind of lead them to the Puckwudgies.
And let the Puckwudgie take care of it. What
assholes, man.
They're like, hey, we know enough not to follow the Puckwudgie. You invading motherfuckers don't. Okay, smart. I think that's smart.
So they kind of believed that the natives kind of went along a premise of to leave them alone. Just leave them alone. When you see it, you don't mess with them. You know, you just leave them alone. You go away quick. And the natives were able to kind of, I don't want to say live in harmony with them, but kind of avoid any mishaps with them. So the Pilgrims come, Massachusetts gets settled. There's still sightings of the Puckwudgies. People disappear, people kill themselves. You know, things are happening. People walk off cliffs. They're victims of, here's another thing. They're supposedly able to create fire arrows and have little knives. And there have been people that had been found with, they died of small knife wounds, but don't know why.
Wow.
Now, the thing is that they were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them. Now, you know, they kidnapped.
Did they say why? You know, what happened to turn them against humans? Other than we suck and probably are destroying where they live.
You know, I wasn't able to find the exact origin, but it had to do with the Wampanoag Indian tribe that is near like Cape Cod, like the top of Cape Cod, like Plymouth area. That native tribe, it had something to do with children being kidnapped. I think that someone kidnapped them and it was blamed on the Puckwudgies, but they didn't do it, but got blamed for it. And then kind of.
I see. You know, there is a long history of fae and fae type creatures stealing human babies. There's a lot of tales of fae being baby snatchers. So I'm not surprised that they were accused of that. But they weren't, they were innocent, and so they got mad over it.
You know, the crazy thing is so, you know, this is happening throughout the years and all that. But as recently as 1995, I was reading about an eyewitness statement from 1995. We go from, you know, the Pilgrims to like literally present day.
And it's still going on. Wow.
Still going on. There was this man named Bill Russo, and he lived next to the Hockomock Swamp in Raynham, Mass. And in 1995, he was working a second shift, and he had gotten home around midnight, 1 a.m. And when he got home, he decided to take a walk in the woods with his dog because he didn't usually work that shift. And he was in the habit of, as soon as he got home from work, he would take the dog out. So even though it was late at night, he decided he was taking the dog out anyway. So about one in the morning, they're walking towards that swamp. Now, this man has even suggested that building and changing the area could be contributing to some of this, because that swampland was much larger than it is today, because they just keep building and shrinking that wildlife area.
They're losing their habitat. You know, they're kind of being invaded, basically.
Right. So he's walking through the woods. All of a sudden, there's this big mist in front of him that wasn't necessarily before, like a fog, when it wasn't necessarily foggy before. And the dog starts barking and crying and trying to force him to turn around and run home. And it's like pulling to run towards the direction of the house.
You know, when
Uh,
animals react, that's something that really that really hits me because animals are sensitive to things. And if they're reacting like that to fog, there's something up,
run, run,
right?
motherfucker.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's
He
definitely
didn't
something
run.
going. If your dog is reacting to what looks like nothing, there's something going on.
Yeah. So the dog is like acting scared. Bill began hearing what sounded like a voice calling to him. But again, it wasn't necessarily in a language that was understandable, but he could tell that this voice was trying to entice him. And he felt like the voice was like basically saying, "We want you, not I want you, but we want you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then he said that a 3 to 4 foot creature began walking towards him from the mist. He said
No
it,
shit.
wa- it was not necessarily an animal, but it had attributes of an animal, and that it appeared friendly, but was far from it.
So this is actually now it's making it sound a little more bestial, more, did he say like what about it was animal like? Like did it have fur or horns?
Well, here's the thing, like they can supposedly shapeshift, and they are known to shapeshift frequently into porcupines. The way he described it would be almost if you were to combine a porcupine and a human, like if you had a little tiny little human that had porcupine spines up its back and back of its head, kind of.
Oh, how cute. Interesting.
Which I guess is what kind of makes it fall into the cryptid category. They are able to shapeshift, they're able to disappear. They can appear on the left at 1 second and then on the right the next second.
Oh, that sounds very creepy. That would freak me out. My cat does that and it freaks me out.
Bill stood there and looked at him for, he thought, what was 3 to 5 minutes of him trying, and there was lights trying to guide him into the mist. And he said that because he had grown up in that area, he had known the lore, he had heard the stories. And when he realized the situation he was truly in, and that it was actually the Puckwudgie that he had always heard about, he turned around and ran home. And this is like a 55, 60-year-old man. Like, we're not talking about a teenager here.
How scary. Good thing he knew what to do and not to follow it.
Basically, because it was like a local quote unquote urban legend that he had heard about. And he was like, oh my God, this is what I'd always heard about. I always heard, don't follow it or you die. So he didn't follow it. But in Indiana, I guess there's some Puckwudgies in Indiana, and they actually on the roads have signs that say Puckwudgie crossing.
No way.
Like deer crossings in New York.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
But there's also another man that went to the same location, Andrew Lake. And Andrew Lake claims to have photographic evidence of the Puckwudgie. Yeah, which actually I saw it, and it kind of, yeah, I'm with the guy. Now, this was more recent. This was in 2008. A paranormal group, a local paranormal group called New England Ghost Project. They actually are a paranormal group that works with a psychic as well. They were looking to go to this area, not necessarily for the Puckwudgies, but they were looking to go to contact some Native American spirits from the land. And there is video of all of a sudden where the psychic is physically attacked by what appears to be nothing.
No shit.
To the point where some of the people that were with them had to kind of restrain the person. And in the background, they zoomed in, and it did look like a part porcupine, part humanoid being
What?
in the bushes off to the side.
They actually, you can see it, the thing that attacked
Yeah.
her in the bushes. Oh,
And,
wow.
and like I said, this was from 2008, the paranormal group New England Ghost Project. And I understand that shit can be doctored, but the video is pretty compelling. Pretty compelling.
Wow, that's amazing. That's wild.
But for centuries, the Puckwudgies tormented the Native Americans on that land. Like I said, they can appear and disappear, transform into different animals.
Damn.
And here's the thing, and this is why they want you to die. There's a reason.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as they have a reason why they need you to die.
They're basically like soul collectors. Like they take the souls. So like they want to kill you so they can steal your soul.
So they don't just kill you, they like take your soul. That's
Yeah.
worse. That is objectively worse.
They don't want you just dead. They want your soul too.
Ew, what do they do with the souls?
I don't know. I didn't like phone a
So
friend and ask.
they haven't like left any evidence as to why. They haven't said, "Hey, we stole, Mr. Smith's soul because we're using them to make pretty necklaces" or anything. They haven't said why.
Haven't said why. And as far as Massachusetts goes, I kind of talked about the two guys that had the experiences near Rainham, Massachusetts, which is down like near Fall River, like Lizzie Borden area.
Yeah.
But they've also been seen in Framingham and Taunton and Freetown, which are like Framingham is not terribly far from me.
Oh. You're not going to go Puckwudgie hunting, right? Just tell me, Chelle, please, that you're not going Puckwudgie hunting.
So I was telling my boyfriend last night that I was
Oh,
doing a
no.
story on the Puckwudgie today.
Oh, no. Tell me you
And
didn't.
he's like,
Tell me you're
he's
not
like-
going to.
He's like, we should go look for Puckwudgie. And I'm like, what the hell are we going to do? I'm like, they'll kill us and make us like go walk off a cliff and take our souls. And he's like, we just won't follow the orbs. He's like, we'll take pictures and then we'll leave.
Oh, my goodness. You being the calm one, the sober one, the sane one in this instance frightens me. Frightens me
Not
very
as good-
much.
It should. It should.
That is not a good sign.
But these things,
Disclaimer by the Stoned Witches Hour: do not go hunting the Puckwudgie. Do not follow the orbs in the woods. Do not go looking for any type of fae that wants to suck your soul. This has been a public service announcement by the Stoned Witches Hour. Thank you.
yeah, what she said.
Right?
But they have actually been
Do not recommend.
They've been compared to Massachusetts' version of the leprechaun.
Oh,
So, like, they're-
yeah. And
they're-
those, I've
they're
seen that
nasty.
movie. They can be scary.
They're nasty, like they're tricksters. They're nasty, and apparently you can lose your mind before you die. And there has been people that actually were able to regain their sense of confusedness and get away from them. Puckwudgie, bad news, no bueno.
That is a great story. The Puckwudgie, freaking scary. I mean,
And
damn.
here's the thing, like there's like they've seen them in Indiana and they've seen them in Texas. I guess they're like predominantly a Massachusetts thing, but kind of like Bigfoot, like how Bigfoot is generally Northwest, there are sightings all over of Bigfoot. Same
Right.
thing. Puckwudgies are generally Massachusetts, but they have been sighted in other parts of the country.
Like some of them have migrated to further parts, but most of
just-
them are in one area.
I just like saying the word Puckwudgie.
Puckwudgie, that blows my mind, and it's so scary. And how could they do that to my beloved orbs? So rude, mean.
Well, you know
Downright
what?
evil.
You're just gonna have to go meet a Puckwudgie and bitch about your orb issue.
How could you? I'll just have to give them a talking to, maybe over a nice joint. Maybe they like bongs better. Do you think Puckwudgies would like a joint, a pipe, or a bong?
I think they're more like a pipe kind of person, because if they're more like a trolley kind of elfy person, like the old grandpa pipe that goes down and
That's
goes
what
up
I'm
at the
thinking. So
bottom.
if I ever encounter a Puckwudgie, hopefully my husband will be with me because he always has a packed bowl. And we can just offer this dude a packed bowl, be like, okay, hold on to the soul thing. Let's smoke some of this good ganja. Let's talk about this. What do you need the souls for?
To kind of segue into your story, they're one of the places where Puckwudgies are found near Freetown, Massachusetts, and near what's called the Bridgewater Triangle, which we're going to do another podcast on the Bridgewater Triangle. That's another show, another day.
Anything with triangle in it, has some sort of creepy stories attached.
Well, not only does it have the cryptoids there and some Puckwudgies, but it's also a site of UFOs as well.
Ah.
Interesting that
Well, like you said, that the Puckwudgies tend to be found in places where other supernatural events are occurring as well.
right. So I would have to I should do some digging when I look into the Bridgewater Triangle. and see if there's any correlation with the Puckwudgies and some UFOs. You know, have they been chatting with the aliens? Like, is this some plot to steal our soul? Like, what's up here? I need to know.
Like I was talking about in our Roswell incident episode, as soon as I start looking at alien UFO or abduction incidents, there are so many. There are so many all across the country that it's hard to narrow it down. So I think I have an interesting kind of story for you this week about alien Chelle, but this is by no means a comprehensive story, or this is just one small tip of a many pointed iceberg.
The problem with alien stories is once you dig into one thing, it leads you down a rabbit hole of like 20 other different things.
Oh my goodness. And that's exactly what happened here. I started out with one idea and oh my goodness, I just went down to so many and familiar things too, like Project Blue Book that we talked about before. Yep. And the MJ12 group that we've talked about, everything seems to kind of lead back to those every single time. And there's just so many, you could get lost in this maze of things. So I'm going to try and stick to one little part of it. And so please keep in mind, this is just one part of a very much larger, many tentacled story. Oh, actually, so I wanted to start out with, I guess we're not supposed to call them UFOs anymore, Chelle.
What are we calling them?
Right? UFO is unidentified flying object, right?
But it's unidentified and it's a flying object.
That's true. Now they like to use the term UAP, which is unidentified aerial phenomenon.
What the hell?
Because sometimes it's not necessarily an object. It might be a something that happens like in space. I don't know, like maybe a light flare or something. So an unidentified aerial phenomena is now more UAP instead of UFO. Use UAP. You're in the know.
I'm just learning about cultivars here, people.
Now we're changing the alien shit too. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
So UAPs, I'll probably still call them UFOs. But so we talked before about Project Blue Book, which is the code name for a group that studied unidentified flying objects. It was done by the United States Air Force, and it was from March in 1952, and it ended right around December 17th, 1969. And it was created following like all the UFO sightings that happened during and after World War II. You know, again, we talked a little bit about the Roswell incident and everything that happened around that time. And so they created Project Blue Book, which for a long time they denied the existence of, which recently we have found is actually a real group. And they have released several UAP sightings, UFO sightings, and stories that they have classified as unsolvable or, you know, unable to be determined. So I've got a few of those stories here for you.
Oh, okay.
Right. So even our government says that these are true. So the one I'm going to start with is a kind of fun. This is Ned the Alien. And this is where I kind of started my search. I heard about Ned the Alien in a place called Aurora, Texas, and there's a grave site to Ned the Alien, and he's one of the very first recorded alien sightings and UFO sightings in the United States. There's actually a newspaper article dated April 17th, 1897 from, again, Aurora, Texas. It said that around 6 a.m., a craft was seen flying through Aurora, Texas erratically and kind of low to the ground. And it was unlike any type of craft they had ever seen before. And it was kind of emitting its own light. And it crashed into a windmill. So when the townspeople went to see what this was, they could obviously see that the craft was something they could not recognize, had never seen before. And it was so badly damaged that they couldn't even tell what it was made out of. The pilot of the ship was deceased, unfortunately. And although he had been hurt in the crash, it was very obvious to tell that he was not human. It was some sort of alien. And in the newspaper article, they even say that one of the police officers or government officials that was there at the time said, in his opinion, it was a native of the planet Mars. And they actually buried this alien in a cemetery in Aurora, Texas, and the gravesite is still there. They've done ground penetrating radar and can tell that there is a small body buried there. However, they're not able to exhume this body because Texas law says that you have to notify a next of kin and get permission in order to exhume a grave. And nobody knows any of Ned the Alien's relatives in order to get permission to exhume the grave. So best they can
Oh,
do.
I have no words for this. Okay, zero words other than he's my cousin. So Ned the alien is my cousin. So I'm gonna go down there with my little sand shovel and we're gonna dig them up.
So you can go and see in Aurora, Texas, you can go see the gravesite of Ned the alien.
Does he have a headstone?
He did, and it disappeared. There's now a rock on the spot where his grave is supposed to be.
What year did they say he was buried there?
This happened in 1897. It was in the paper.
Well, if it was in the news, it must be true.
Right? That's not necessary, but hey, there's a body there. We don't know that it's not true. Could be a hoax, absolutely. But I think that that's interesting that especially in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, a lot of these things would make the paper. People would go and would say, hey, wow, yeah, that is something I've never seen before. That's a metal that's never been seen before. And hey, that is a government official taking something away. And they'd write about it in the paper, whereas you don't hear so much about it now. So the next story is it was 1941. Again, it was the 40s during the World War II and afterwards that a lot of UFO sightings really started to happen repeatedly in the US. It started to become an epidemic of UFO sightings at that time. And during World War II, there happened something called the Battle of Los Angeles. So the Battle of Los Angeles is actually one of the first and most mysterious mass UAP sightings in the nation's history. After the Pearl Harbor attack in 1941, everybody in the country was really jumpy, especially coastal military people. So they were on high alert. And a few months later, February 23rd in 1942, a Japanese submarine actually surfaced off the coast of Santa Barbara, California, and bombed an oil field and refinery off the coast.
Yes.
And that was the first time that mainland US had been physically attacked. So again, tempers and tensions are high. A couple days later, after the submarine attack outside of Santa Barbara, about 2 a.m. on February 25th, 1942, military radar picked up enemy aircraft about 120 miles off the coast of Los Angeles. So they immediately go to the air raid sirens. They start to warn everybody. They do a whole blackout on the city, lock everything down. And within minutes, troops have manned anti-aircraft guns, and they're sweeping the skies with searchlights, looking for this aircraft that they've picked up 120 miles away. Less than an hour later, about 3 a.m., the witching hour, reports come in of an unidentified aircraft off the coast, and troops in Santa Monica see these aircraft come in and open fire. And then down the coast, other defense stations open fire as well as they start seeing these aircraft. Witnesses at the time described the sirens. There's air raid sirens. There's smoke from artillery. There's aircraft. They talk about seeing formations of 6 Japanese aircraft in the sky over Los Angeles. There was shells that were raining down, causing damage, searchlights going everywhere in this blacked out city. It was chaos for about an hour. There were reports that there were aircraft flying directly over the city, and even that one had crashed on the streets in Hollywood. Some people described paratroopers, enemy paratroopers coming down in the city. Terrible, scary, absolute chaos. Then as dawn came up after this fight and the attack has ended, the city started cleaning up, and they discovered there's only our shells, our artillery. There's no enemy aircraft down. There's no enemy people. There's no bullets or any evidence there had ever been any enemy airplane in the area. Even though multiple witnesses had seen them flying, the official report said that there were no aircraft, that it was all due to nerves. Even though radar had caught the aircraft, there were multiple eyewitnesses saying that they had seen aircraft. The official statement went out that there was nothing there. However, military people, including the Secretary of War, Henry Stimson, said that at least 15 planes had been reported sighted over Los Angeles. So what happened?
Oh, wow.
Where did those planes go? A lot of people think that they were alien aircraft, and that was one of the first sightings. So a couple years later, civilian pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying his personal aircraft around Mount Rainier in Washington. And on June 24th, he reported seeing 9 blue glowing objects that were flying really fast, which was, I saw some estimates that said 1,700 miles per hour in a V formation. So he thinks, again, right after World War II. So it's right after World War II ended. So again, this is around the time when this rash of sightings is happening. So he thinks maybe these 9 blue glowing objects are possibly some sort of military aircraft, and he reports it. And he's told that there were no flight tests being conducted near Mount Rainier at that time. And he's talking to a reporter. He talked about how the craft's motion looked to him as if it was a disc, a saucer. The way they moved was like a saucer when you skipped it across the water.
Oh.
And that's the origin of the flying saucer term when people discussed UFOs. And so people use that phrase to picture like a flying disc, even though most reports that talk about these aircraft talk about them as crescents, including Kenneth Arnold. He said it was more like a crescent shape, but his description of how they moved as a saucer skipping across water is why people think of a flying disc shaped thing.
I gotcha. I thought it was because it looked like a paper plate.
Nope, that's why they thought it looked like a paper plate, because of the way he described how it moved.
Because remember that back in like the 50s, they used to think they were like 2 paper plates on top of each flip.
Yeah, that's exactly where that movie idea came from, was his description of the saucer skipping across water way that they moved. That's why they started depicting it that way, even though his description of the craft talks about it being a crescent shape.
Gotcha.
So that just kind of got into the popular lexicon, even though it wasn't necessarily true. So soon after he did that report, other people cited them. There was a lot of credible sightings, including from a commercial airline pilot. A prospector up on Mount Adams also saw these 9 blue, fast-moving objects. And it was a few weeks after that the supposed Roswell crash happened.
Oh.
So right around the same time period.
So there was there was multiple activities around that time period.
That's correct. There was a flurry of it around that time. And that's when Lazar and all the people talk about having worked on secret places in Area 51 and in the Roswell area.
And all of this is getting declassified now.
Yes. And interestingly enough, someone whose experience I'm going to talk about here, do you want to know how Blink 182 is involved?
What? Travis Barker?
Travis Barker, not his guitarist, but I'm going to let you know how Blink 182 is involved with aliens. So we'll get there. A couple decades later, in 1964, an incident that ufology groups call one of the most credible UFO encounters on record happened. And this one was researched by Project Blue Book, and they listed the case as unknown. So they weren't able to solve this or figure out what caused it. It's called the Lonnie Zamora incident, one of the most credible UFO sightings ever. April 24th, 1964, Officer Lonnie Zamora is on his shift and he's following a speeding car. And he calls into dispatch because he sees what he thinks is an accident happening about a half a mile off the road. So he stops chasing the speeding car and he calls into dispatch and says he's going to go down into the arroyo and search out this and see what happened with this accident. He says he gets down to this accident and he sees 2 people dressed in what he said were kind of like some sort of overall work type clothes standing next to what he thought was an overturned car at first. And then as he gets closer, he realized he didn't recognize what type of vehicle it was at all. It was some sort of round, shiny vehicle that looked like it had like the underside of a car on top, car parts, like car guts on top of it.
Yeah.
Which is why he thought it was like a flipped over car. And as he got closer, he said this object went straight up and looked like it had fire coming from beneath it. He was so perplexed by this that he radioed dispatch again and said that he had gone down to the accident site and asked them if they could see anything going up into the sky. And they didn't, but they asked him what he saw. And he said it looked like something shooting straight up into the sky. And when other officers got there, they did notice burn marks on the ground and smoldering bush and scorch marks. And the 2 people that Zamora had seen were nowhere to be found.
Oh, wow.
So I guess he had originally, when he thought it was an accident, what he had originally seen was like what looked like an explosion, like a bright fiery ball and a roar of sound. And so he thought that was what the original accident was. And when he got to that site, that's when he saw the overturned, or what he thought was an overturned vehicle. And it just went straight up with fire shooting out of it, and the people disappeared.
That would be I would be rattled.
Yeah.
I'd be rattled.
So this made news. It made the news at the time, and UFO investigators and organizations and even the US Project Blue Book investigated it and were unable to find a cause for this. So it's still listed as unknown in that now declassified Project Blue Book.
I would love for them to like gather up some of these people and do like present day interviews now that because like back then, like they were threatened. The government threatened their lives.
There are some modern day, a couple of the people I'm going to talk about now are present day people, including Tom DeLonge, the guitarist for Blink 182. He was part of Blink 182 in 1999 when they released Enema of the State.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, on that album is a song called Aliens Are Real. So DeLonge has been an alien believer for a very long time. He himself says he has had an alien encounter. He told The Hollywood Reporter in 2015 that not too long before that, he had been on a camping trip to Nevada's Area 51 with some friends. And he says that he was in his tent and he woke up, but he wasn't able to move. He felt like his whole body was like full of static electricity, and all he was able to do was open his eyes. And he could hear, he'd only gone there with two friends, and he could hear what sounded like 20 or so people outside his tent talking around the still going campfire. All he could make out was that they were trying to do something. They were trying to work something out, and he couldn't quite make out what they were saying. And he said he blinked.
Sounds like sleep paralysis.
Which is a common theme. Some people claim that it's just sleep paralysis. Other people claim that sleep paralysis is a hallmark of some type of alien encounter or alien abduction. And particularly in someone who's never had sleep paralysis before or since, it's definitely interesting, but that certainly could be an explanation. And he says he had about 3 hours of lost time.
Oh my God.
This and other things that happened to him led him to found To the Stars Academy. And this group, according to The Independent, is a group that collects documents and physical materials from public and private sources relating to unidentified aerial phenomena. And it consists of former officials from the Pentagon and the CIA, as well as specialists in the fields of science, from physics to biomedical research. And so DeLonge is part of this group, and they launched themselves in 2017, and they said that they would provide evidence and release video which actually prove that UFOs exist, that UFO encounters have happened, and that our government is trying to cover it up. At that 2017 launch, they released these two videos filmed by US Navy pilots in 2004 and 2015, and it caused a huge sensation at the time. And then in 2020, the US Navy acknowledged that the footage was real, and the phenomena that's seen on this video is indeed unidentified, and they don't know what caused it.
Oh my God.
The 2004 video released by Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy is called the Nimitz video, and it is sensational, and it has caused quite a stir. Nimitz, because that's the name of the ship, I believe.
Okay.
And it has caused quite a stir in the UFO or UAP community because the government's even said it's real. And I'll post a link to the video itself so that you can look at it. But what the Nimitz video is on November 10th, 2004, radar operator Ken Day first reported seeing some really odd objects in the air that he didn't know what it was. They were very slow moving, so too slow moving to be aircraft, too high. They were 28,000 feet in the air, so too high to be birds. They were flying in formation, small groups of roughly 5 to 10, and they were near San Clemente Island, which is west of the San Diego coast.
Oh, wow.
They were traveling about 138 miles an hour. So again, too slow to be conventional aircraft, too fast and too high to be birds. And they didn't have any conventional flight path.
What'd they do? Did they use a radar detector to see how fast they were going?
Yes. And they also sent aircraft up to take a look and see what they are. And that's the video that you're able to see is these flight videos looking at these tic-tac shaped aircraft that are moving erratically. And although they might be moving slow at first, they are capable of tremendous speed. And it's said that their maneuvering and their propulsion is far beyond anything that we could ever do. They don't have any type of heat signature. They're definitely an object in the sky. You can see the video go through like infrared and different types of video of different ways of looking at this object. And it just moves and then takes off in a way that is not possible by any of our aircraft. The Nimitz video has been proven to, and has been admitted by the government back in 2020 that it's real. And it was first broken in 2017 by Blink-182 guitarist Tom DeLonge and his group To the Stars Academy. Now, another really interesting provable thing is the Wilson documents, the Wilson Davis documents, or the EWD notes. And these are documents that came out in 2016. It's 13 pages of notes, letters, and documents written by Dr. Eric Davis, who had had a meeting in 2002 with Admiral Wilson. Admiral Wilson was the Director of Intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1997 to 1999. And he was also the 13th Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency from 1999 to 2002. So definitely connected, knew his shit, knew what he was talking about. This discussion, they talked about UFOs and Roswell and alien autopsies and the MJ-12 group and UFO crashes. And they talked about these things and all the groups that had been formed to study them. And it just blows my mind that all this stuff, it's right there. They talk about how these projects, these government projects, were developed to study alien crash sites. They were developed to study alien bodies and to reverse engineer alien technology. And in this discussion, they even talked about how things like lasers and integrated chips for computers were reverse engineered tech from aliens. And that's why our technology had such a huge leap. These pages and notes were found amongst the things of a Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and he was the fourth man to walk on the moon and a scientist also who worked with the government, and he was involved in a lot of these groups. And so these papers that were supposed to have been hidden away were kind of discovered in his personal effects after he died. And those were found to also be credible. More proof that Roswell really happened. They mentioned the crash site in Roswell. It mentions MJ-12, and it corroborates a lot of this stuff from like Bob Lazar might be true, that the government has been studying these things from the beginning. And it's just interesting to me that, you know, since 2020, all these videos are coming out that the government is saying, yes, we know that these unidentified aerial phenomena happen. We know that they're true, and we can't explain all of them. And we've even developed groups like Project Blue Book that we previously denied existed to study them.
Yeah. But it's just so interesting that now all these things are coming out, and all these people that were deemed crazy all these years, they weren't.
Right. You know, they for a long time denied that these things happened. They would say it was a weather balloon or you were imagining it. But, you know, now they're saying, well, yes, we did have tech that you didn't know about. We just lied about it. Or, you know, yes, we did know that there was an unidentified object flying around the Nimitz, and we lied about it. But now we're, you know, okay, here's the video, and we have to kind of say it's true. And I think it's been such a cover up. And so it's hard to know what to believe, because things that they denied and stridently denied and tried to say that people were crazy for believing, now they've completely changed their tune and are saying, oh yeah, well, we lied. They were telling the truth, and we were the ones lying. So how are you supposed to trust anything? It's hard to believe anything, you know, because it's just so fantastical. I don't even know.
Yeah. That's the government for you.
Yeah, but Blink-182 and aliens are real? Who would have thought? I had no idea that he was trying to tell us something.
You know, music is a part of everything, including aliens.
Right? He was right on. His group in 2017 broke that Nimitz video, and the government themselves had to say that it was true. That's amazing. That's wild to me. And stuff like that still happens in this day and age. But, you know, then you've got Puckwudgies trying to entice people off to their doom and give up their souls. So, and they haven't been found yet. So who knows?
Right?
There's more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than in your philosophy or something like that.
I don't know what's more frightening right now, aliens or Puckwudgies.
No, I think Puckwudgies definitely have it. I don't want anything snatching my soul. It sounds like the aliens just kind of buzz by and freak people out with how fast they can go. I can handle that. I don't know about getting my soul snatched, though. I might have to give this one to the East Coast.
Yay!
I had to give you one sometime.
I knew it. I knew the Puckwudgie would get ya.
Yeah, it definitely did. It corrupted my beloved orbs. And now I can't look at orbs the same way anymore. I'm so sad about that.
Yeah, but don't you just want to go and see if we can find one? We don't have to follow the orbs, but don't you want to just go?
No, really? I don't. No, I don't. I don't like tempting fate like that. That's a little too scary. I like my soul right where it is. Thank you. I want to just keep it right there. But
all right, good point. Good point.
Well, that's all for this episode of the Stoned Witches Hour. Thank you to Lisa Ann from Empower with Flower for hanging out with us while we got high. We definitely appreciate it and can't wait to see more interviews on your channel.
Love you, Lisa Ann.
Are welcome back anytime to hang out with us. We are all the cool kids here for sure.
I don't know about that, but...
Well, definitely you're welcome to hang out with us anytime. Not sure about whether we're the cool kids or not, but... you can keep saying it if you want to. So next week is we're going to have a special Beltane episode because of Beltane. It's fucking intense.
It is fucking intense.
It is coming up in just a few days. One of the first outdoor rituals for our local pagan group back in the day, and something everyone looked forward to. It's just a great... like you said, everyone feels so alive now on the East Coast where spring is really finally starting to spring and you're finally getting out of that cold. Any excuse to get out and party around a bonfire, hang out with your friends in tents on a beautiful piece of land and just give thanks to the earth and to all things growing and new. So we're going to talk about that on our special Wheel of the Year Beltane episode.
Our next notch on the Wheel of the Year.
That's right.
Our next tick.
And after that will be our very first May episode. And I think I'm going to do a little true crime again and talk about Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer, another super bad guy from here in California.
I'm going to stick with the East Coast cryptids. I am going to, on our next episode after Beltane, talk about the Jersey Devil.
Oh, the Jersey Devil. You have taunted me with stories of this. You teased that you're going to talk about the Jersey Devil for a while, so I'm excited and I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
I'm into this thing right now where I'm very into some of the beastly phenomena that are in the woods that surround us. So we're gonna jump from the Puckwudgie to the Jersey Devil. See what I can find out. It isn't just about hockey, and there is definitely a creature out there that's been cited for a couple centuries. So we're gonna get a little scared with some more cryptids on the East Coast.
I love that, especially because coming up later in the month, I too will be going a little cryptid crazy with the chupacabra and some Bigfoot sightings out here on the western half of the U.S. And so we'll keep all things cryptid going for the month of May. We'll see you next time on the Stoned Witches Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I smoked through my stash, Chelle.
Well, I think it's time to get a new stash. So let's see if next time we can come up with some good, crazy, different weed. Ooh. So stay cryptid, stay weedy.
Stay spooky, stay high. We'll see you next time.